If you ever decide to fish an abandoned stretch of the Mississippi River by yourself, do me a favor. Keep your knife handy and your head on a swivel. I went in after catfish and almost ended up Bigfoot bait, lashed to a vine-woven raft, drifting damn near to the Gulf of Mexico. Here's what happened. I pulled into what used to be a busy little recreation area tucked way off the beaten path along the river. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was packed. Campers, families, kids on bikes. Then, right around the turn of the century, somebody just stopped taking care of it. Nobody can give me a straight answer why. Now, the place is mostly abandoned. Nature's chewing it up. Grass through cracked pavement, busted out houses, empty pads where RVs used to sit. A paved riverside trail still runs maybe 2 miles, but weeds, saplings, and cane have swallowed most of it. These days, the only visitors are the occasional group of sketchy folks looking to get high out of sight, or stubborn bank fishermen like me. I can't afford a boat, but I know bank spots out there that still produce slab catfish because nobody bothers to bushwhack to them. I hiked maybe a quarter mile down the overgrown path to my usual honey hole. Gnats in my nose, mosquitoes chewing my ears. Cost of doing business. I baited up, heaved my rigs what felt like a country mile, set my rods, cracked a cold Dr. Pepper, and settled in. 15 minutes later, I noticed movement upstream. People. That was the first. Nobody ever bank fishes that stretch. Stranger still, they seemed to materialize straight out of the timber, where there's no cut-in, no trail, no nothing. Only way in should have been the lot I used. They were a ways off, call it a football field. But even at that distance, one thing jumped. Big group and big bodies. Looked like one of those giant big bone families where even the 10-year-olds can pass for grown men. I shrugged. Figured they'd found their own secret catfish supper plan. I went back to watching rod tips. Caught a nice little channel, dropped it in the cooler. Apparently they saw that because the whole crew started easing down toward me. Irritating, sure, but there's room in the Mississippi for everybody. When they got close enough for sound, I heard talking, but no English. It didn't sound like Spanish. Didn't sound like Creole either, and I hear that plenty. Loud, rolling chatter, every so often. Whoomp. A big rock splashed where they'd hucked it in just for kicks. I risked a side glance. Big, I mean NBA lineup big. I kept my eyes forward so I didn't come off rude. Then things got busy. Rod doubled. Fish on. Heavy. Felt like a blue cat charging straight at me with the current helping it move 40 miles an hour. I'm working drag, working angle, heart thumping. When it surfaced, I realized it was a hog. Bigger than I first thought. Apparently, I wasn't the only one impressed. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw one of the kids from that crew launch himself off the bank into the muddy water and start powering toward my line. He cut loose with this piercing, almost tribal scream that drove straight down my spine. Next surface, my blue cat pops up, and that kid clamps both hands on it, on my fish, on my line. I spun to yell at the family, "What the hell is your boy doing?" But the words froze. That wasn't a boy. That wasn't even human. Standing there on the bank were towering, broad-shouldered, upright, ape-like figures covered in dark, shaggy hair, faces deep-set, heavy brows, wide noses, long arms hanging, a whole family of them, Sasquatches, Bigfoots, whatever name you like. I was looking right at them, and their youngster was now in the river, wrestling my blue cat like it was a greased hog at the fair. The fight that followed was pure chaos. That juvenile clamped on the fish and yanked upstream against my drag like I'd hooked a small truck. I've pulled sharks off Florida when I was younger. This felt comparable. Good thing I was running a medium heavy rod with 30-pound trilene big game mono. It stretches, it forgives, and that day it earned its keep. I actually thought, screw it, I'll cut the line and let him have it. Then he ducked under, rolled, and came up thrashing with the line looped around an arm and across his head and neck. Bad rap, real bad. Current was high. Drowning was on the table. Whether you believe in Bigfoot or not, the adults on shore were going wild, bellowing, gesturing, but none of them stepped in. Maybe they hate deep water. Maybe they can't swim. Either way, the kid was on his own, unless I helped. I tightened, drag, and leaned back with everything I had. Rod, was bowed to the cork. Catfish still attached, Sasquatch still tangled, current pushing, and a downed tree looming downstream that would have ended him. I horsed the whole mess sideways, praying that mono held. Inch by inch it worked. Somehow I got him clear of the snag and sliding towards some shallow, slack water near my feet. By the time he hit knee-deep, I splashed out, talking calm. "Hey, buddy, I'm gonna get you loose, all right?" "Easy." He still had some fight, swinging that free arm, but he was gassed. The wraps were tight. Only way was to cut. I pulled my knife. That's when the lights went out. Something, best guess a hurled boulder, slammed the back of my head. Instant blackout. I figured the adults saw a steel flash and thought I was fixing to stab their kid. Can't blame them. Wrong move at the wrong second. When I came to, I wasn't on shore anymore. I was flat on my back, wrists and ankles bound in something like braided vines, lashed to a rough, handmade raft, drifting mid-river, sun sinking, wilderness on both sides, head pounding. Why tie me to a raft? Territorial eviction, mercy, message. I had time to wonder, hours of it. I floated past a small town after dark, yelling my lungs out. No one heard. Drifted back into black timber stretches, passed out, woke to noon heat the next day. Had to be pushing 100 degrees. I baked like bacon. 2 boats actually went by. Either they didn't see me or they figured I was trash. First one buzzed past. Second one threw enough wake to shove my raft into a foot of water where I beached on a sandbar next to a pasture. Cows wandered down and stared like I'd landed from Mars, couldn't move. Vines were tougher than paracord. Wind finally nudged me free, back into current. Hours more drifting, sun dropping again when I spotted industrial lights, barges. I screamed everything I had left. One deckhand heard, tossed a line, and I managed to snag it, even hogtied. They hauled me up. Turned out I'd float a long, long way, close to the Gulf by their reckoning. When they asked what happened, I told them, Bigfoot family, kid tangled in my fishing line, got rocked in the head, woke up gift wrapped and sent downstream. They laughed. I expected that. Doesn't matter. I'm alive. That kid didn't drown on my watch, I hope, and I got one hell of a story.